I might be a masochist. So the other day I got this comment under my video where I did Plight in 0 action value, basically asking me to take my extremely wailed out E6 S5 Remembrance team and bring it into Currency Wars, the brand new game mode. You know, that's easy enough on paper. Except the comment also wanted me to do it at difficulty A20 without any extra teammates, any stars on these characters, any items on these characters, or any buffs. So basically just the team bare bones against the hardest difficulty of Currency Wars. And for those of you that aren't aware how difficult A20 of Currency Wars is, let's just say that the bosses in the third plane have billions, yes, billions of health. It is an insane amount of damage that is needed, and without any teammates, any buffs, any stars, which would literally multiply our damage, we are just going in bare bones. So obviously, with the rarities in Currency War varying based on what your level is, and with Cyrene being a 5 cost, Castorice being a 4 cost, and even Evernight being a 3 cost, it's impossible to hit this team just right off the get-go. So what I have done is I have selected substitute units that I will be placing in for these characters until I get them. My goal is to get Evernight and Hyacine in the first plane, and then Castorice and hopefully Cyrene before the end of the second plane, so I can just do the entire third plane with the full team. Off the start, there's not really going to be a set substitute team that I'm going to be using, because whatever the game gives me, I kind of just have to use for the first couple rounds. But units I'll be looking out for are Cypher and Triby, as they just slot in well. And hopefully, yeah, those will be the only two that I have to do anything with before we get the other characters that are Castorice and Cyrene. Luckily, we're going to have a bunch of econ because we literally won't be spending money on anything but our leveling and these characters when we find them. Might have to roll for them. We'll see what RNG does, but whatever the case, this is a very, very tall feat that we are trying to accomplish, and one that I am dreading a bit because not only is this going to be difficult, but these fights are going to be really long because, good lord, these things will have a lot of HP. But with all that out of the way, we're going to be going into our challenge. I actually have pre-recorded this gameplay. I did it earlier because I didn't know how many tries it would take, and I didn't want to have to say the same things over and over. So I will be voicing over the gameplay like this. And it also allows me to cut out like an hour worth of content that you probably wouldn't want to see anyways. So enjoy the challenge. Alright, so A20, as we promised, we are going into this hoping to get Hyacine off the start. That would be really nice. And the bosses are obviously not very favorable. Sam is not a good one to have as our last boss. That's probably one of the worst ones we could have gotten. For these, I'm really just looking for anything with money because we can't select buffs. Anything with items won't help us because we can't use items. So really, we just want to get our econ going, get to 50 as fast as possible so we get that interest, and just try to get our units and get leveled up so we can hit our units. Opening shop, obviously nothing here that we can take, so I'm just putting in a Glaya, Ruan Mei, and Tingyun just so we have a team for these early rounds, but these reward battles do not even matter because they just die instantly, as you're about to see. Boom. So we'll take our rewards. The item components mean absolutely nothing, but any money is great because we're already at 2 econ, which is fantastic. I am going to take the 2-star Tingyun here, and I'm not going to take the Gallagher because we just don't need him. I don't really mind using 2 stars of the characters that we're not using for the challenge because like I feel like an E6 4-star is nowhere close to an E6 5-star like the ones we'll be using, so I'll do that for Cypher later as well. But just wanted to let you know that yes, I am 2-starring the characters that I'm not keeping because it just doesn't really matter. But here we're going to take the 7 gold when entering a boss node because more gold means more interest, and we hit in a crazy shop here with the triple Syringa. I actually ended up taking this just so we had an early unit to use before we hit our other units. She doesn't stick around long because obviously it is a little OP for me to be using my Syringa here as a 2-star version of her, but it helped me get through the early battles, which is what matters. A lot of this early commentary is just going to be me explaining my thought process and how I set up for everything. You know, this is our first fight of the actual game mode. I put the chess piece on Cypher because she can actually skill and do something with it, and I can't. But as you'll see, Syringer's going to be doing most of the damage anyways because she's E6. So here's her last ult. As you can see by the damage graph, she did way more than anyone else. Challenge completed. We're going to move on to our next battle. We are still on the hunt for our Hyacine. Evernight would be great too, but a 10% chance is really low. Here's just some footage of me ending the next battle, because it just doesn't matter. Like, you do not need to see these fights without the characters that we're using for the challenge, so I tried to keep the footage at the beginning at minimal. So, items we get do not matter. Supply phase, boom. There is the first character we will need for our run, which is Hyacine. So, I do take the blade here for the 2-star, because that gives us a Blood Flame Blonde. I take out Aglaya, and then I put in Blade over Tingyun. So this is our 4 units that we're using now. Boom, and they cleared. Like I said, we do not need to watch the footage of any of the fights that aren't either encounters or boss fights without the team that we're using. And this one still isn't necessarily one that we need to showcase for the encounter that's coming up as well, because this doesn't even have Evernight in it. It's literally just Hyacine. We did 2-star the Cypher, like I said earlier, but we will be getting rid of that, along with the Blade and the Syringer once we get our other units, so it is what it is. Tip for anyone. I know that when coming off an encounter, you're like, man, I need to spend. Never make yourself drop below a solid econ level on the reward node between the encounter and the boss. Like, the reward node is free. Don't lose econ over that. Anyways, going into the boss here, I really wanted to find Evernight because that was our goal that we wanted to hit, was to find Evernight. So I actually end up rolling here to try and find her. I was willing to dip below 50 econ to find her because it's just part of the challenge. We need her. I was actually willing to reset here if we did not find her. But as you will see... Oh, and we found Tribby. Wow. Tribby was one of the units we were also looking for. But as you will see... Man, this guy rolls so slow. There we go. There's Evernight. We hit our Evernight, so this is the comp that we are using now, going into our first boss, and I will actually play the footage for once, because we are finally in a fight. So I will let this play and let this team do their thing, and I'll add little comments here or there about what's going on. The main thing here is that we want to maximize the amount of Memoria that Evernight is getting. So you will notice that after I ult with her... Oh wait, I didn't actually do it here. Wow, that's really awkward. Well, usually what I do with her, I don't know why I didn't do it in this fight, is I wait for Hyacine's turn, then use Evernight's ult so that I can do Hyacine's skill and ult for the HP drain and the Ika going off to give March more Memoria for her big explosion on Eevee. I don't know why I didn't do it there though, that was really silly of me, but it doesn't matter because this team is very strong and the first boss is never really that difficult, so wasn't too worried regardless. But something to keep in mind if you ever want to min-max how you're playing your Evernight is you can definitely get more Memoria just by playing around other teammates doing things, especially when there are more Remembrance characters in the team. We do get Cypher's ult up here, but we're not going to use it right away because the longer you keep it, the more damage she will record. And in this game mode, she records a lot of damage because there is a lot of health on the enemies. But that'll end phase 1. Going into phase 2, he's going to spawn some friends. We're not too worried about them. They weak. Literally 1 energy away on our Hyacine and Evernight bursts. Always like to do Hyacine's burst on her turn because when Ika goes off, she still has all 3 counts charges for Ika, so the next turn she gets, she'll be on 2. Just way easier to get her burst that way and rotate it properly. When you're playing her in a full Remembrance team, and specifically when you're playing her in this mode, a lot of the time it is just better to cast it when it goes off cooldown because you can get caster salt up at good times, or keep your team alive, or just there are so many enemy actions in this that you'll be just taking damage and getting more energy that way. But we beat our first boss fight. It was not hard at all. Didn't even take a cycle. We're going on to the second phase, where we are going to try and find Castorice and Cyrene eventually. But we will need to level up first more before that, because the percent chance to find them right now is extremely low. Chance gets higher as you level more. We finish the fight. These battles, like I said, I'm just going to skip them because I do not want to waste your time with nonsense. Get a beautiful 13 gold card here. The staff projectors are absolutely useless because we cannot star up our units, but we will take that gold happily because we will be putting it towards leveling up our units more. I was tempted to take the tribute there to go for a 2-star tribute, but I thought that might be a little overkill. The 2-star Cypher I don't mind as much because she's doing the least out of these 4 anyways. And a big Ika to end that off, bringing us up to 100 HP. And hopefully it stays that way. Our supplies phase does not give us a Castorice, but I do end up taking a 4 cost here just on the off chance that it'll impact the pool enough to give it to us. That's something that I should say for any of you that ever want to roll down to try and find a unit you're looking for. Buy units of the same cost so it takes them out of the pool so you have a higher chance of the one you're looking for. I am not taking the 4x difficulty here because good lord, that is way too much for this tiny little team. But we are rolling to try and find our Castorice here before we go into our next encounter. Would have loved to take that Evernight, but as you can see, what I mentioned before, I'm buying up the 4 cost units to increase my chances of finding her. I took the Firefly as well because very low chance we may find Cyrene, but I ended up giving up on that. Really, we just want to find the Castorice here, and we finally find it right before we actually would have gone below eco to stay at 5 by selling all of these, so that was really nice as well. I was counting them as I went along. I would have been fine dipping under for it though, because I really wanted the Castorice here. So for this encounter, we will have her, and we are still going to try and provide Cyrene before we get to Flame Reaver. But this fight, we have 3/4 of our team with Trivi as the stand-in for Cyrene at the moment. Team feels far more complete when Castorice is involved because she really synergizes with these units perfectly. Even Trivi she synergizes very well with because of Trivi's HP sharing and just all of the buffs that she provides, which is very good. Also, lost Hyacine there. These mobs do a lot of damage, and we cannot give Hyacine the item that I usually give her, which is the 2 battery combination item that gives her energy at the start of battle so she can cast ult right away and not have to wait for her turn, because all these mobs keep advancing anytime we bring them below 50 and keep doing damage, which is really annoying. They also just have high speed, so this damage happening is actually screwing us over really hard on the action value. That battery item will come in the form of Cyrene, but we do not have her yet, so we've lost a ton of action value due to those 3 deaths, and this battle is looking pretty cooked because of that. Because we finally just there got Hyacine ult up for the first time. I do actually end up casting it. I don't think it was the right move. I mean, because obviously Castorice was 2% away, she would have gotten it from Evernight, but I already knew that this fight was kind of cooked regardless, so I just stopped caring, I think, in that moment. Obviously, the optimal thing would have been to wait until Castorice bursts over to then use the Hyacine ult. Yeah, that was just a mistake, but unfortunately it doesn't really end up mattering because, as you can see, the 0 on the timer here is 25 AV away. It's pretty much just done. We're going to try and get as much damage off as we can so we can not lose as much HP, but the chance of clearing this is pretty low at this point. Hyacine actually does put up, Castorice actually puts up a pretty good fight against this to try and keep us in it, but just with a full health elite right there, it just makes it a lot harder, and this being the last dragon that she's going to be able to get off. Actually, I think she'll be able to get off another with the mob damage, maybe. No, it's not going to be enough. Or actually, nope, never mind. I brought them under. So we did end up losing that fight and losing 14 health for it, but we gained 2 back, so not a huge loss. Just unfortunate that we lost our first encounter where we got the Castorice with. I do level up here, go into the reward node with the max amount of ego that we can take. Boom. And now we are going to hunt for Cyrene. It's not a high chance that we find her. It's only 3%. But she is the last piece of the puzzle that we need, so anything we do with our gold here does not really matter after we find her. So I do spend it to try and level up for her. And we just send it. It is super risky. We do not have a lot of gold to find her with. Buying up the 5 costs I see on the way, praying that we find Cyrene, and we hit it, thankfully. So our team is complete, and this is the team we will be using for the rest of the challenge and all of the 3rd plane. Which is a little scary to think about, because it is not going to get upgraded anymore from here. This is it. This is all we have. So, first boss fight with the full team against Flame Reaver. Actually a pretty favorable boss fight for them. Standard opening rotation. I spawn March's Eevee during Castorice's dragon because the dragon going off will give her more Memoria or a bigger hit. And then after I do this, I actually end up letting Flame Reaver get his attacks off, even though I know it'll probably kill Hyacine, because we do have Castorice Global passive up, and it allows us to do another dragon with Castorice first, and also put Hyacine's burst up. So we do that, and as soon as Castorice Dragon is over, we're going to go into Cyrene ult and get another one up, and just keep doing it. The 100% action advance that Cyrene gives with E6 is absolutely insane. I actually should have taken Evernight's turn there. I guess I didn't see her on the action bar getting ahead of Flame Reaver, so that's on me. But whatever the case, this fight is still looking very good. I know it says it's 10 AV away, but if you see on the action bar, all of our characters are at 0 because they just got fully advanced and we have all our ults up. So there is really no world where we do not kill this first phase before we even get there. The value that Cyrene provides this team is just absolutely insane. This dragon alone should be doing a decent amount of chunk. Yeah, 26. And Flame Reaver is kind enough to give us our Castorice ult back. I have Uncans though, so I did not get it up before Eevee was up, which is a little bit of wasted new blood, which is unfortunate, but that skill is enough to propel us into his second phase. Ika died, so Hyacine gets an advance, and thankfully since Nether Ring was up, Hyacine did not die, because we will have lost a lot of action value for that. Yeah, these bosses and mobs do so much damage at these higher difficulties. But we get another dragon off, we get another turn with our Evernight. I end up casting this to get more Memoria, because it counts as a member spread action. Boom, and then we'll get another Castorice Dragon off. It's just an infinite rotation. Like, you could just keep cycling this over and over and over again, and things will die. Eventually. 1 health. We'll use Cyrene to finish it off with a very romantic attack. And that's all she wrote. Boom. We won our first boss fight with the full team. And now we're moving on to Plane 3, which... if you guys thought Honkai Star Rail had bad HP inflation, well, have you heard of Honkai Star Rail X TFT? Because holy crap, does this have a lot. And we're skipping ahead because it's just a bunch of normal battles there. So we are in the final plane. Going into our first encounter, we actually lost a normal battle there. That's how much HP these have. I left that part in just to show that, but we're going into our first encounter. on the third plane. I put it to max level just because I can. Literally no other use for the gold. It's really, really unfortunate though that we lost that fight, because that's pretty much just going to show how the rest of this is going to go, because these fights have so much health, and even though you will see these characters doing so much damage, it is an unbelievable amount of HP that these mobs have. I'm actually going to let the gameplay go on its own. I'm going to play some music over it because I've said pretty much everything I need to say for this run. So you can watch the rest of the challenge go. And I hope you enjoy, and I will see you at the end with my thoughts about this challenge in its entirety. And with that comes the end of our challenge. I'm going to talk while the builds play on screen right now. To be honest, I don't know. Yes, we won this challenge. Like we got the victory screen. You know, if we weren't already at the max rank, we would have ranked up. I still don't feel good about it though, because we lost the last encounter and we lost the last boss fight, but there is literally nothing I could have done to change that outcome. Maybe a different boss would have gone a bit better. I still don't think it would have been clear, but Sam probably was one of the worst ones we could have gotten, just given how he needs skill points to trigger his mechanic. It's a single target fight. It's really not good for this team by any means. If we had gotten something like Flame Reaver or Argenti or Pollux, I think it could have gone a lot better, but it is what it is. Or the TV boss. I guess this goes to show that simply spending money and having no knowledge on how to play Currency Wars, you're probably not going to be able to brute force the highest difficulty. At least not to an insane extent. I think if we threw a couple supports in there, like a Tribi and then a couple of the Blood Flame units, we probably would have been fine. But regardless, this mode does take a bit of brain power. You cannot just whale your way through it in most cases. It also requires some luck. I put that in quotation marks because there is a very strategic way to play the RNG in this to make it favorable for you. If any of you have played TFT before, it is literally a one-to-one of that. It's just the combat is Star Rail instead of the TFT chessboard. And as someone who's played a lot of TFT before, this game mode just kind of was second nature for me. I think even though we didn't technically beat the last boss and the last encounter, I still think it's super impressive this team was even able to get a clear on max difficulty, regardless with all of the debuffs we had set for ourselves in place. Like, you would not get anywhere close to this with the trial versions of these characters. I don't even know if you would clear with the trial versions of these characters if you have all four, like, as the trial version, even with a full team and items and whatnot. I haven't had to try that. There's no way for me to, but yeah, that's super interesting to think about. It's just how different it is when you have eidolons for these characters. I mean, Cyrene literally starts without the item. Crazy to think about. Anyways, I've been yapping for way too long. I had a lot of fun doing this challenge. I think Currency Wars is definitely a good game mode to do these types of challenges, but that one was rough. That took a long time too. There's so much footage that I cut out that you guys did not have to watch, so thank me for that, because we would have been here forever. I was here forever. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching my Currency Wars challenge, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care.